but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thanks everyone for joining us here today. We're going to be live on WYSL, and of course we're live on all of our streaming channels too, on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, all of those. And we are joined by a guest today. We are joined by Tony D'Orazio, good friend of mine, who is also the new chair of the Libertarian Party of New York. Tony, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kevin.
Yep. So, Tony, it's good to see you. So, just yesterday, our friend Jim Rosenbeck, who is the chair of the Libertarian Party in New York, when we got ballot access, he decided to step down for personal reasons. You know, nothing bad, nothing he did. He wanted to focus on some other things right now. And I'll say this about Jim. I consider him a friend. I consider him a mentor. He's been a great leader of the Libertarian Party in New York during this time, and I think he's done a wonderful job. And I'm sad to see him go, but Tony, you're in the hot seat now, man.
Yeah. Jim left me a good ship to steer here. He really was a great leader. He was the perfect choice to be the first ballot access leader for the party, so I'm pretty pleased. And I wish him well. He's earned this rest. He really has.
No, the guys worked incredibly hard to make sure that the party's well positioned for success as we're kind of moving into even more challenging times. And I know you had previously served as the first vice chair of the Libertarian Party in New York, so you're definitely not new to this situation. You've been here quite a bit before, and you're stepping into this role with a wealth of experience of your own. You're also the vice chair of the Monroe County Libertarian Party for a while as well. You've been a candidate for office before. You've experienced it all. Tony, you've also been a guest host on this show before, so some people who are longtime listeners of Radio Free New York might be familiar with you through that. But Tony, for those of you people who don't know, is there anything that I missed? Anything else you want people to know about you?
No, not really. You've pretty much covered it. I was on the pre-ballot access state committee before the Libertarian Party had ballot access. We were actually a special type of corporation that could endorse candidates and stuff. And I was on the state committee for that as well. But other than that, I could sit here and talk about how I voted for Harry Brown back in the 90s, but I don't know if any of your listeners really want to hear that.
Harry Brown, yeah, well, way back in the day.
Back in my day.
Back in my day. Yeah, no, I mean that's a little bit before my time, for sure. And but you've been around a while, so again, you're definitely not a newbie at this. And so as you're stepping into this role, what are some of the big challenges and opportunities that the Libertarian Party of New York is facing right now?
Well, clearly we have, we're only thanks to Larry Sharp, who I hope is listening to this and can hear me talk nicely about him. We have our ballot access, and he got us an awful lot of name recognition. We have other issues that come out. When you get the new ballot access as a third party, you get a gigantic target on your back. Mm-hmm. The big two, the Democrats and Republicans, are gunning for us. We know how third parties have worked in the state before. Most of them are just vanity lines for the top two lines, Not always, but that's how it's worked out in a lot of cases. And the Libertarian Party is trying to distinguish itself. One of the jobs that I have is to continue that, to continue protecting our line and protecting our brand here in the state.
Yeah, and again, New York State's a unique place where fusion balloting is something that parties like the Libertarian Party have to deal with, and that again presents some both opportunities and challenges. How are you approaching that issue?
Well, it's kind of it's a very it's a razor line that we're walking here. There are some in the big two parties, or even in other third parties that really do represent our ideals well, or at least a good chunk of it. I know one of the Larry Sharp's favorite phrases is that if you agree with 80% of what I say, chances are we're a pretty good ally. I'm paraphrasing him, but
Yeah,
I believe that. And there are some that want to take a very hard line against fusion. I'm not one who does. I believe in dealing with candidates on a case by case basis and seeing if they will be a good representative of our party. We've shown that we've been able to convert people out of the big two parties into the Libertarian Party by taking that attitude.
yeah, no, and that's a good way to look at it, I think. But it's interesting. Way to try to address this challenge of like what's more important, building the party or getting policy victories.
That's a great question. Boy, I'd love to have both. Um, but I think we're going to be lacking in policy victories if we don't build the party. I think we may make small steps on that, but we're still in New York. Although we're the third largest third party in the United States, we're not the third largest party in New York State, not by a long shot. We really need to build our name recognition here. We need to build our clout here, and we do that by building alliances. We do that by building our party, both organically and by force.
By
Uh,
force.
no,
you
I'm kidding
know
on that one, clearly, but by recruiting those from other parties, and also by recruiting people who have never been affiliated with the party, uh,
right,
people who
right,
haven't
so doing
voted,
a little bit
people
of
who
both.
haven't shown an interest in politics. They're starting to.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. It's how do you grow a movement? Yeah, Sean Phelan says force question mark exclamation point.
Yeah, that
Think
was
you
a
got
bad
his
bad
attention.
joke, Sean.
um, yeah, no, I mean that's a an interesting way of looking at it. How do you grow a movement? How do you build in a movement that is looking to make some significant changes when you already have factions that exist within a state political environment? And so how do you either build alliances that make sense? Do you recruit? Do you try to get people to implement policy, by exerting external force, or do you build enough of an internal force to be able to start building, start getting people in actual seats, getting people elected, right? So that's the challenge that you face right now,
Yes,
and
it
and
is.
indeed the
And
whole party faces.
I don't think that you can just take a one blanket approach. Oh, we're just going to build the party. And we have people who are very dedicated to building the party. Hi, Carrie Bittner. We have people who are very dedicated to policy. I know the Onondaga County Party, for example, um, when they were interviewing candidates last year, they were very um, passionate about wanting a seat at the table with their candidates, and wouldn't endorse candidates who wouldn't give them that.
Right.
They're both valid. They're both valid tactics, and frankly, they're both tools that we need to keep in our belt.
Yeah, yeah, and that's an interesting approach. How we see that play out in like the Working Families Party or Conservative Party versus the Green Party, and then what path does the Libertarian Party as the third largest party in the nation? How do they approach that in New York State, where the environment for this type of thing can be a bit tough? Although, I do want to talk about stuff that's going on currently in New York State after we get back from the next break, because I think there's some interesting challenges and opportunities there as well. How do we think about the shift in culture for where tyranny has happened and where there's opportunities for deregulation as well. So we'll be back in just a few minutes here on Radio Free New York with guest Tony DeRazio. Talk to you soon.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
College Assistance Plus has worked with thousands of families, saving them millions of dollars. It can be stressful choosing the right college, but we're here to help. CA Plus will guide you from college visits to college graduation and through every step in between. Each student and family situation is different, and we work to accommodate those specific needs. Call today for a free family meeting, 585-582-1846, or visit collegeassistanceplus.com for more information. College is expensive. College Assistance Plus can help.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Tony DeRazio, the new chair of the Libertarian Party in New York. We were just talking about, how his party approaches strategy in New York State. And we are getting some questions and comments, lots of fun stuff here. Sean Phelan asking if we can lure them in with cookies. I'm like, no. And then Garrett says, no, chicken wings will work better.
Flats, not drums.
Flats, not drums. Oh, are we going to have that debate now? I don't know. I'm more of a
Garrett
drums
and I
guy.
have that debate all the time.
I'm more of a drums guy. I don't know. I like them and I know there's a strategy to the flats. I get that there's a strategy to it. I just not a fan of it.
You see, the libertarian solution to that would be, hey, let's get some wings together. I'll eat the flats, you eat the drums.
There we go. Good cooperations. We're not banning or mandating flats or drums. We're just sharing, and people can eat what they want and prioritize what they want. That's the libertarian way. Love it. Yes, and someone said, so Rod says, two hot guys, Gurr, thank you for your leadership in our party. All right, cool. Thanks, Rod. But yeah, and then we just got another comment in from Garrett. Says counties now judicial districts will have to tailor their strategies locally. I know Tony will allow and facilitate this, and I think you've commented on that a bit. But do you want to expand on that anymore?
Absolutely. I
And what that
certainly,
means?
I mean, I
So
live in
if you're
Monroe County.
again, if you're what was judicial districts have to do with anything too? So if you're not familiar with that process, would you mind explaining that?
Oh, sure. So our state committee is going to be elected as part of the primary in June. The initial state committee for a new ballot access party is appointed, and and now we're having an election. We as a party got to choose how we divvied up the state. We chose judicial districts, which other parties have done as well. Um, but that's for the state committee. That has absolutely nothing to do with county politics. And I'll say it right now. Although I've been watching a lot of the briefings that from the governor, which I know we're going to talk about in a minute, but
Yeah.
he's talking a lot about downstate. I don't know what's going on in Westchester or Rockland County as intimately as I know what's going on in Monroe County or even Orleans or Erie County here in Western New York. Uh, I'm certainly not going to jump in and tell a county how to run their business or what issues are important to them. Um, and so, Garrett, I appreciate you making that comment because I agree. That is exactly how I'm going to run things. Counties really do need to keep as much control as possible.
Yeah, that's good. Explanation, and I think that's kind of rooted in our philosophy is uh, local governance, and again finding ways for people to have the most knowledge of their situations to be able to make decisions. Would that be accurate? That's the your party philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. And actually, I'm gonna ask a terrible question just because it's what happens every time Libertarian Party members end up on the radio when they're not the hosts, and it's that in these situations, is running third party candidates splitting the vote? Are people
Absolutely
waste
not.
and are people wasting their vote? It's the most important election year of our lifetime, Tony. I don't know if you've
It,
heard, but are
I
we
know.
splitting the vote by being active in New York State?
So, so the two things I will say about that, and I'll speak specifically to the presidential campaign, and then I'll speak more generally. In the presidential campaign, there's only been one time in my lifetime that I can remember where a Democrat didn't win the electoral college votes here in New York State. So if you're not voting for the Democrat, I guess you're wasting your vote. Um, but you're not wasting your vote clearly because there was that one time, and that was of course when Reagan won the state over Mondale. I think he may have won it over Carter as well. Um, I know I'm old. This is before your time, Kevin. But
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, when was this? Gotta crack
but
open
it's
my history
never
books.
the wrong time to vote for a candidate you believe in. I generally do vote for libertarians because that's my philosophy. That's how I believe. But that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily always voting on the libertarian line. I know that is a very controversial thing for a libertarian chair to say, but sometimes there are candidates that are good candidates who haven't received our endorsement for one reason or another. Either they didn't pursue it, or we didn't give it to them. And if we didn't give it to them, chances are they're not very libertarian, and I'm not going to give them my vote. But there's some value to sending the message and sending a significant number of votes to a candidate you believe in, even if you don't think they're going to win. And there have been many circumstances where the candidate, oh, you're wasting your vote if you vote for this candidate, even in a two-party election where the candidate that everybody thought wouldn't win wins because they got more votes or they got votes in the right places in the case of the presidential race. 4 years ago, how many of us, yeah, it's 4 years now, how many of us were surprised on election night when Trump won? And by the way, I voted for Gary Johnson because he was the candidate I believed in. I didn't vote for him because I needed to be on the winning team.
Yeah, I mean, and lots of great points there. And I think what's another interesting thing is when you're voting for stuff, it's not merely a matter of who wins. Too sometimes ballot access can be determined by voting. Is that true?
Well, that's a very good point. in this state, we do have ballot access races. Traditionally, the gubernatorial race has been a ballot access race. That's all been changed a little bit by the current budget, but that's been our case here. In other states, absolutely, the presidential race is their ballot access race. They need a certain percentage of votes. So if you want that third party choice on the ballot, you absolutely need to vote for the third party you want to see on the ballot.
Yeah, and in this year's budget, that did get changed. And we've talked about this issue frequently on Radio Free New York, but do you want to speak to that more specifically? What does that look like? What ended up happening, after the what do they call it, Commission on Campaign Finance or whatever it is, had their decision thrown out? You want to speak to that?
Sure. And so this is an issue that we're actually quite involved in fighting right now. So after their decision was thrown out, our delightful Governor Cuomo put a piece in the budget that essentially laid out these same thresholds, and it really lays out two sets of thresholds. The first being the number of signatures you need on a statewide petition was tripled, without tripling the time to get them, from 15,000 to 45,000. And traditionally, a third party has needed to approximately double those signatures in order to retain their spot. So really, we're looking at getting 90,000 signatures in 6 weeks if we want our ballot access. And of course, the second was the raising of the threshold for statewide votes from 50,000 votes in the gubernatorial election to 135,000 votes in the gubernatorial or presidential election.
So
there are a lot of problems
now,
with
right?
this, especially enacting it this year during a pandemic when the petitioning thresholds and deadlines were distorted. It could be said that if this is a ballot access year, and when the petitioning period was active, it wasn't a ballot access year. Now you've taken some part, and we know in at least the case of one third party, clearly the Libertarian Party has a presidential candidate, but for example, the Sam Party doesn't. So right now they're in a position where the law was just put in place, and they're going to lose their ballot access because what they did before the law was put in place is screwing them.
Yeah, so they either have to pick a presidential candidate, so someone who can represent their line, or go away. That's
exactly, and they're too late to pick a presidential candidate.
Yeah, and even so too, some of these ballot lines too, it's they would have to not only get a presidential candidate, but also negotiate with the parties. In 2016, the Independence Party cross-endorsed Gary Johnson. Which interestingly enough actually created problems for the Libertarian Party because there was an alternate slate of electors chosen by the Independence Party. So they were actually splitting the votes among themselves. And so this year, there's an incentive for the Libertarian Party or any other party to kind of impose some of those cross endorsements, which would normally help drive more votes to their candidates. But if your ballot access is determined by who votes on that line, you don't want, whoever the LP candidate ends up being, whether it's Jacob Hornberger or Judge Jim Gray, who jumped in the race, or whoever, of many people who have been interviewed on Radio Free New York, they could get more votes by getting that cross endorsement, but it means that it could jeopardize the Libertarian Party in New York.
It could. And if you look at the 2016 vote, you'll see that Gary Johnson got a lot more votes on the independence line because people saw the candidate higher up on the ballot. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Oh, there's my guy.
Yeah.
They didn't look at the party. They looked at the guy.
Yeah. So, that's definitely something to consider. So we'll be back in just a few minutes here on Radio Free New York. Thanks again, Tony DeRazio, for joining us. And keep sending in your comments and questions. We'll keep answering them after the next break. Talk to you then.
more than twice the power. More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. Tonight into tomorrow, we'll be seeing clear skies, and then we have another chance for light snowfall throughout the region, especially places like Livingston, Wyoming, and also Ontario counties. The city of Rochester will get a few flurries with those temperatures in the upper 30s to low 40s for the next couple of days. By the weekend, we will see temperatures rebound into the 50s. This is Samantha LaRocca with WYSL.
At Victor Chevrolet, we want you to know we are here for your transportation needs. Our factory-trained specialist in the Victor Service Department can expertly handle any repair. Our concierge service can arrange for pickup and delivery of your vehicle if you choose. We are here for repairs, maintenance, inspections, warranty work, and recalls. Victor Chevrolet can help no matter where you bought your car or truck. And if you need a new vehicle, Victor can sell you a car virtually on our website, victorchevrolet.com, or by appointment at our store. Call 869-6196. Trade-ins, financing, leasing. They're all available remotely and at your convenience. We're here to fully serve Chevy customers in Victor, Canandaigua, Macedon, Fairport, and throughout the Metro and Finger Lakes. Depend on Victor Chevrolet, here for you with sales or any service issue, no matter where you bought your vehicle. Give us a call at 869-6196 or visit victorchevrolet.com. You can depend on the team at Victor Chevy for all your transportation needs, now and in the future.
FM Talk.
From Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations, maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Suddenly, it's warmer weather. Are you noticing something like winged ants in your home? Are they ants or termites? Some people think termites aren't a problem in the north, but that's not necessarily true. If you've already been told you have termites, don't be stampeded into an expensive decision. Get a reliable second opinion. Call Star Pest Control and protect your home and family. Affordable, professional, experienced, dependable. Call Star Pest Control, 346-9825, 346-9825.
Escape from the everyday to a getaway at Woodcliff Hotel and Spa. Woodcliff features elegantly appointed accommodations, creative cuisine, themed suites, full-service spa Elan, and is Rochester's best venue for outdoor wedding receptions overlooking the city skyline. Woodcliff Hotel and Spa, where the experience is extraordinary. Located in Fairport, call 585-381-4000 or visit woodcliffhotelspa.com.
Yes, it's Turnbull tune-up time for your air conditioning system. Whether you have an attic system, a ductless wall mount system, or even a conventional central air conditioning unit attached to your furnace, call Turnbull today to schedule your appointment to save energy and money. If you need a new system, Turnbull can provide a free estimate to meet your comfort needs and budget. Call Turnbull today, 343-2005.
You'll be comfortable with the best. Turnbull Heating and Air.
In Avon and Livingston County, call 226-6180.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. Again, I'm your host for today, Kevin Wilson, joined by Tony DeRazio, the new chair of the Libertarian Party of New York. And thanks again, everyone listening live, noon to 1 here on Thursday on WYSL. Or if you're listening on a rebroadcast on WENY or WACK, thanks again for listening to us, folks. If you are listening to the live show and you want to participate in the conversation and ask Tony a question, give the station a call, 585-346-3000. And join the conversation. And we are getting some questions online too, and some people just saying hi. RJ says, "Hey guys." Hey RJ, how's it going, man?
Hey RJ.
Yep, and then Garrett Kane says is asking for clarification on kind of how New York delegates will be seated at the national convention, and he basically just like how does it work? Who are the delegates? How are they chosen? That type of thing. Let's keep it vague. I know you're asking more specific stuff, Garrett, but like most of the audience has no idea what's going on with any of that stuff. So Tony, there is a national convention for the Libertarian Party. How's that stuff
Yes.
work? How's New York State select its delegates?
So our delegate group is split between our delegates are chosen two separate ways, and the first way that so basically we're splitting them in half. The interim state committee, the party itself, had a group of 21 delegates to work with. So we appointed a committee who came up with a slate of delegates. The whole committee voted on it and approved it. Both seated delegates and alternates. That list is on the LPNY website, lpny.org. The other set of delegates are determined by the presidential candidate who comes out of the state. Now, we may have had a primary for that, which means we could have had some contention. Okay, is it the Jacob Hornberger slate? Is it the Ken Armstrong slate? Is it the Vermin Supreme slate of delegates that are chosen? And as it turns out, we're not having a primary because only one candidate qualified to get on the ballot, and that was Jacob Hornberger. So his slate of delegates and alternates was also accepted. We had to, because that's election law. That's how we see. That's how delegates are seated. I know we had a lot of people apply to be a delegate appointed by the LPNY, and our committee had to disappoint an awful lot of very good people. But we only had so many slots to give.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you just had to you have to pick. So you got 21 for the state committee, and then however many, one for each congressional district for the what do you call it, the presidential candidate who won, who was Jacob Hornberger, who's the one who qualified, right. And then there's the national convention, which is technically still scheduled for Austin in May. Any insights onto whether or not that's happening? Because I think Texas is still prohibiting New Yorkers from being there without being quarantined for 2 weeks.
More specifically, the county that Austin's in is Travis County, and they're on a stay-at-home order through May. We're cutting it awfully close. I know that the National Party, who organizes that convention, is working through a lot of scenarios as to how we can do this. So I don't have that answer yet, but by early May we should.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's the New York delegation is still going to go down, and they're going to vote on candidates, and maybe it's the case that there's some sort of like virtual convention or something.
Yeah, there are something like 8 or 9 different scenarios that they're working through, from we're just going to have our convention right where it was supposed to be, to we're going to have an outside convention where we're all standing 6 feet apart, to we're going to have 50 national conventions, one in each state, all connected by some video conferencing platform. There's a number of different scenarios that they're working through, and
so
I'm really glad I don't have to make that choice.
So something's going to happen. I mean, and I think maybe you can kind of hint at this process through like how the delegates are selected, but like those Jacob Hornberger delegates and the other state committee delegates, they don't have to vote for anyone in particular when they get down there, right?
No, they're unbound.
They're unbound. So that means that they could go down there, even if they're a Jacob Hornberger delegate, they could go down there and vote for Jim Gray or Dan Bourbon or Ken Armstrong or Vermin Supreme, whoever they want to vote for. It's an option down there.
It is. I know the state of New York, the election law here does state that we select bound delegates, but the National Party unbinds them as soon as they walk in the door.
Gotcha. No, that's interesting. It's an interesting way of doing things, and it makes the convention itself all the more important. There isn't merely a primary that selects delegates who have to vote a certain way in the first round of voting, it means that things can change, that people can go in and change their mind based on new information or new candidates who jump in the race.
That's right.
Yeah, no, it's so it's going to be interesting. Definitely something people want to watch slowly or closely, and we're gonna report on that here in Radio Free New York for sure. I know we're hoping to go down there and do live shows for that, but just not going to happen now. But I know there's going to be a lot of interesting conversations about trying to offer an alternative to Donald Trump and Joe Biden, neither of whom inspire a lot of excitement among some people. There's some very passionate Donald Trump supporters, and I think there's some very passionate people. Maybe not about Joe Biden, but about people who want to defeat Donald Trump. I've yet to be like someone who's like, yeah, Joe Biden's the best. I'm so glad he won. Most people I've talked to are like, yeah, Joe Biden, he's certainly palatable enough to beat Donald Trump. That's the reaction I've got.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen any of that.
Really, the more the reaction I've seen is that, oh, he's blue, so we'll
vote blue no matter who.
No matter what.
All right. Yeah, no, and we're definitely not about that.
No.
And all right, so yeah, thanks for addressing some of the questions that people had about the convention.
No worries.
Yep. Sean's excited about Vermin. All right, that's good to know. Sean failing Age of Chaos. Maybe I'll ask him about that tomorrow.
That'd be great. Maybe he'll wear a boot for you.
Oh goodness. Well, we gotta get Sean on video, and we'll do that for the next show. But I do want to talk about some of the other stuff going on in New York State. We only have a few more minutes before a break, but I'm certain that you've been watching what our governor's been doing, and just recently, as of yesterday, he said that it's now mandatory to wear a mask in public. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, has he signed the executive order for that yet? I don't know that he's actually signed it. He's been making a lot of these statements without signing the executive orders. And
interesting.
He may have.
Maybe, yeah.
But
well, no, I'm
more
gonna
to
have
the
to look
point,
it up while you.
If people are actually following the social distancing guidelines, why does he need to do that? It's just, it seems unnecessary, and it seems like yet another draconian measure that is stressing out an already stressed out state who has had a month of this and has had enough.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when I've talked about this, people pointed out that Governor Cuomo says, well, most people aren't going to be forced into this; they're just going to comply already. So, and I'm like, well, okay, well, if you're acknowledging that, then why are you doing this? Like, if people are already doing this, and you're making that request, and other local health officials and doctors are making that request, like, hey, if you wear a mask, it'll stop the spread of coronavirus, like just a little bit. So, please wear a mask. It's a good thing to do. Why do we need a law for this?
Agreed.
I think the way I always look at this is like any law may be enforced, and sometimes that brings financial hardship, and that may bring violence to people who don't comply, and you're not exactly sure of the reasons for not complying, but you're kind of inviting that force into their life, because that's how government works.
Something he said last week in enforcing the social distancing laws, where when he increased the fine from $500 to $1,000 for not complying with social distancing, he said, "We don't want your money." Then why are you trying to take more of it?
It
doesn't even make sense.
Why do it? You've got this tool now. There's going to be a temptation to use it. Someone's going to use it eventually. Don't put that weapon out there unless you intend to fire it. Because that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen in this case. Eventually, someone is going to use that, and it's going to hurt someone. And you have to decide, anytime you have a law like this, like, is it worth using that tool? What are the downside consequences of using that tool against someone who's not complying versus just asking them, telling them, please cooperate. This is something that will help you help your neighbors and stop the spread of a very serious illness that's hurting people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
yeah.
Most people are a lot more reasonable than they get credit for.
I agree. So we'll talk about that and more of what New York State is doing after the break. Thanks again, Tony DeRazio, for joining us today. We'll be back with more Radio Free New York in just a few minutes.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Aircraft Environmental Systems proudly supports Radio Free New York. Rochester-based leaders in climate simulation chambers for America's R&D laboratories. We're experts in troubleshooting, calibrations, custom designs, and consulting for more than 40 years. Industry pioneers, we created the first ever fleet of temperature, humidity, and altitude test chambers available to rent coast to coast. Trained and trusted by environmental chamber manufacturers, we are ACES. Find us at acesinc.com.
The Rochester area franchise dealers are here to help their customers through these trying times. Service departments and collision centers are open. Vehicle sales are initially done remotely by telephone or electronic means until you're ready to visit the dealership and take delivery of your vehicle. Proper social distancing and cleaning protocols are followed at all dealerships. Please contact your preferred dealer to schedule sales or service appointments for a safe check-in, drop-off, or pickup process. Be safe and know the franchise dealers are here for you, Rochester.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
All right, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, joined by Tony DeRazio, the new chair of the Libertarian Party in New York. You know, talking about some of the stuff that New York State is doing. We're talking about the mask ban and kind of the concept of the force of law too. But we are getting a couple more questions, and you know, Garrett saying that he's thinking of organizing a civil disobedience golf protest once it stops snowing, and you know, nonconformist farmers asking about disc golf, right? And you know, that's one of those goofy things too. I see, like, there's some activities I'm like, why on earth is this prohibited? Like, if you're playing golf like by yourself or in a small group, like you're not that close to people. You're pretty far apart, in fact. You know, and I don't know, maybe it's the type of golf courses I go to, but like half the time when I'm going to a golf course, it's like one guy who's working both the bar and the shop, and then like, you know, you have the option of going out and like golfing on your own. So like, why prohibit it?
I agree with you. I know the rationale being is that, oh well, hey, a landscaper or someone who's working the greens isn't an essential worker, and also the bar would be closed anyway. But I agree with you. I don't think that golf courses should be closed. I think they were one of the later things to be closed.
Yeah, they only happened.
I know
in
other
last,
states
like,
they
week,
happen.
I think. You know, but again, you know, there's workarounds for that. Like I've worked landscaping jobs before. Most of the time, I'm not very close to my buddy when I'm landscaping. No. I'm on one of those cool riding mowers with the two handles, and you know, I worked at a cemetery trying to navigate around headstones doing that, but I was never near anyone. I'm still able to perform my job. You know, we had other people working at the same time, but they're in another part of the lot doing their job too. So I think it's certainly possible to be able to do some of those jobs, and even have the bar open. Half the time when I'm getting drinks from a golf course, I'm getting it in a to-go cooler anyway and going out on the course.
Exactly.
So just don't have the inside bar open, but like I should be able to get a cooler of beer. And then same thing, there's a tennis court outside my house too. Also drives me nuts. I don't need to be that close to someone when I'm playing tennis, but they closed it off, I think, in part because they closed off the basketball court too, and they didn't want to be like, well, basketball is not allowed, but tennis is allowed. Is it a bad look, whatever.
Yeah, I think there's some of the the optics issue rather, going on there.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. There's no problem with tennis.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know about like a civil disobedience thing. Like, man, if you guys are gonna do that stuff, man, just to still exercise some common sense and safety when you're doing it. Like, don't be dumb, But
I know
also,
there were
yeah,
I know there
you should
were
be able
rallies in at least in North Carolina and Michigan. I know they had rallies yesterday where people were not being smart.
Yeah, and I think I look at those situations like I don't like what the government's doing. I think what the government's doing is a bad idea. I can think that and simultaneously think, man, it's probably not a good idea to be in a big crowd of people either. It's just not smart. It's not a good look. And I think kind of your average person is looking at that instead of seeing your argument for why the government shouldn't do that. I think your average person is probably looking at that situation and thinking you're looking foolish, and that's what it is. I think you're doing your point a disservice by protesting in that particular way. I'm not saying you shouldn't have the right to protest. I'm saying you're doing the point a disservice by protesting that way.
Unfortunately, I agree, and it's kind of hard because First Amendment gives us the right to peacefully assemble, but it's not
because
smart.
you can doesn't mean you should every time.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, so like I definitely don't agree with any laws that they're prohibiting, like assembly and peaceful protests. And the North, was it the Raleigh police saying like protests are non-essential? What a stupid thing to say.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, yeah, it's probably not a good idea to get in a big crowd of people right now. It's just this is something that can still actually make you sick. It's not a good idea. Man, I was going to ask you about something else too. We've gone on a bit of a tangent. I was going to ask you about. We were talking about this over the break. I was going to ask you about. Regional approaches to this. We talked about regional approaches to how you think about the Libertarian Party. What do you think about we just got word over the break that the governor extended the pause order through May 16th. It applies to the entire state. Does New York State need to be taking a regional approach to this?
I mean, it makes it a lot easier for the governor if he only has to pass one law, right? And I think that's really what's going on here. But we know that Monroe County is not in the same situation as New York City. I know that there has been some clash between Mayor de Blasio and Governor Cuomo over the reopening of schools. Where Cuomo saying, we're going to reopen schools when I say, and de Blasio saying, no, I don't think it's safe to open but for the rest of the school year. And I know that there's been some of that competition between two of them, and likewise, President Trump coming in and trying to dictate what we're going to do as a nation and telling a state to do that is wrong as well. I know Cuomo has also looked at and built a coalition of states. We're all going to coordinate our efforts, but the needs in Delaware and the needs in New York are so much different. Delaware's economy is not the same as New York's. It's not the same as Massachusetts' economy. Frankly, if we're going to do things like that, it makes more sense for Western New York to coordinate with Ontario than it does with Delaware. It's. I think the thinking from a government standpoint is far off base here.
Yeah, I mean, I think people want simple, one-size-fits-all solutions, and this is like the idea that there may not be a simple solution scares the crap out of people.
Yeah.
And so that's why you get some people, even Democrats, are saying like, yeah, President Trump needs to do this and order a national shutdown. I'm like, no, what's going on in New York City is different than what's going on in Wyoming County, and it's different from what's going on in Mississippi or Montana or Wyoming. Like the situations are very, very different, and we need to kind of approach this like on a regional basis, again using local knowledge, local resources. Maybe states can coordinate, or the federal government can coordinate, like getting resources and support to some places. Like, okay, fine, I'm willing to have a conversation about that, but like one size fits all lockdown, it's not.
So I think the one size fits all lockdown actually gave Cuomo some advantages in helping out his voter base in New York City. Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. His voter base. For example, him mobilizing the National Guard to commandeer ventilators to move down to New York City. Expecting that if we needed them, we would get them right back. Even though they would be ventilating people in New York City in that particular.
Yeah, you're on ventilators for a couple weeks. It's not something that can easily be moved.
Exactly.
Yeah, even though now, like after a week after, how long it's been? However many days after that order came out, New York State's now shipping ventilators out to, like, Michigan and Maryland now, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I just saw that earlier today or last night, so I haven't been able to look up like what's exactly happening in that situation, but that's an interesting turn of events. Now I know we only have a few minutes left to talk, so Tony, again, you're the new chairman of the Libertarian Party of New York. Where can people learn about you, the Libertarian Party, all that stuff? Plug all your things.
Okay, so we're on Facebook at the Libertarian Party of New York. Come to our website at lpny.org, the LPNY on Twitter. You can write to me directly. I'm at chair@lpny.org. That's CHAIR at lpny.org. I'll be as frequent a guest on here as you want me to be.
Yeah, right. And and you got your Facebook page too, which always has interesting information on that. So it's a good way to find you. And I do want to shout out to one comment from Valerie in here who says, "Hello, Tony," and included a curling stone in there. So
yes, the Rochester Curling Club. My friends there, always supporting me.
Yeah. All right. So thanks again, Tony, for joining us here on Radio Free New York. Really appreciate it.
No worries, Kevin. Thank you.
All right, and we'll be back tomorrow with some Fake News Friday. Talk to everyone then.
It's springtime. Get ready for warm weather in